Men of Stone, Chapter 6. This family dinner thing was turning into routine, choreographed. I figured for the illusion of normalcy. The hot topic, Mad had scored her commercial. She was flying, practicing her Oscar acceptance speech as she put food on the table. And I'd like to thank my family. Well, most of them, she paused to glare at Joni, without whose support I would not be here. She sat down smiling. You better thank me, Beth said. All my creativity is channeled into the food that keeps you going. Not to mention the loins that pushed you forth into the world, added Mum. Please, not the loins, I pleaded, not at supper time. Oh, Benny's blushing. Mad ruffled my hair. I pushed the hand away. I'd just like to get through one meal without some bodily function. That reminds me, interrupted Joni. I'm going on a colon cleanse tomorrow. Who's with me? At first there was no response. I mean, who in their right mind would volunteer for something so disgusting? Come on, you guys. Even as we speak, your colons are seizing up, choked under the pressure of straining out the poisons and toxins of our diet. Hey, said Beth indignantly. My food does not poison anyone. Joni held up one finger. Just a figure of speech, Beth. It's all the preservatives, not your fault. Beth looked slightly appeased. So who's up for it? Joni looked around the table. I kept my head down over my food, shoveling it in. But Mad, Beth, and even Mum finally gave in. It was always easier to give in to Joni's demands than to fight her. How about you, Ben? Joni persisted. Your loins could use a little cleansing. I shoved my unfinished dinner away. A day of pureed spinach and wheatgrass? Oh yeah, I'm in. Come on, Ben. I know you eat hamburgers and french fries at school, Beth said accusingly, like I'd been caught sniffing glue. Thankfully, the telephone rang. I'll get it, I said, leaping up from my chair. I picked up the phone. Yeah? I saw Mum wince as I skipped the proper phone etiquette. Hello, I added. There was no sound. Hello, I repeated. Stay away from her. Who is this? I demanded, knowing the answer. See you at school, ballerina boy. I put the phone down with a bang. Wrong number, I said. Nobody questioned it, and soon the kitchen was throbbing with high-pitched voices. But I couldn't finish my meal, and as I carried the half-full plate to the sink, I felt Aunt Frida's eyes follow me. I spent the rest of the evening in my room, trying to do homework. I read from the history text Shepard had assigned, but the facts and statistics of the Russian Revolution blurred into a meaningless fog. I kept thinking about Claude. He wasn't the type to make empty threats. He had the kind of physique that made it easy to believe in evolution. Thick, strong, and hairy. It was rumored that he didn't own a neck. So why was he picking on me? I was certainly no threat to him. Obviously he had a thing for Kat. But that wasn't it, not completely. Ballerina boy. My past coming back to haunt me. I picked up an old photo of me, dressed in my Spanish matador costume. I'd been pretty excited about that dance. It was my first solo, and I danced well. I'd known it before the applause, before the judges' adjudication. I'd known that something amazing was about to happen as soon as the lights went down. Before I even heard the music, I felt it directing my movements. My body had known what to do instinctively, as though something was conducting me through the inside. A sharp knock at the door broke through my thoughts, and I quickly hid the photo under my pillow. Yeah? May I come in? It was Aunt Frida. I groaned. She was the last person I wanted to see. I'm studying, I said, but the door creaked open anyways. You left without your dessert, she said, carrying a fluffy, moosey Beth creation. I thought I'd returned the favor from last night. I wondered for a second if she'd known that I'd come into her room during her nightmares, but then I remembered the soup. Oh, thanks. Please go away. My brain tried to transmit a psychic message to her, but it was on the wrong frequency. She stepped into the room and sat down. That phone call after supper. You looked pale. Old lady with sharp eyes. Stan and I used to play the naming game. We thought it up after we'd seen too many John Wayne movies. I'd been Burp's good, for obvious reasons. Stan was boy who never laughs. Lately, I've called him smokes too much. Just somebody from school, I said, loosely inside the truth. Some kind of trouble? Was she playing the naming game? Then I remembered our early conversation. No, nothing like that, I lied. Aunt Frida nodded and stood. I thought she was going to leave, but then for a scary second I thought she was going to hug me. But she reached down, picked up a book, and held it at arm's length as she read the title. Russian history. You like this? I don't know. It's just all so long ago. So ancient, you know. She flipped through the pages. I was born just before the revolution. Oh, great. Now I've called her ancient. I didn't mean, I started to say, but her laughter stopped me. What's history to you is for me a walk down memory lane. Isn't that something? Stalin is just a name to you, like Julius Caesar. But for me, he was part of my nightmares for many years. Nightmares, lice. Could I ask her now? Is that why then I checked out? Was it hard? I chickened out. Was it hard? I asked instead. The revolution, I mean. Everything was turned upside down. Our land was taken away. But that was also when I met my Henry. Her eyes softened when she said his name. My eyebrows asked the question. My husband, she answered. He was 10 years older than I. He was with the White Russian Army, and he came home one time to visit his family. He walked past our house, and I thought he was so handsome, but too proud. He didn't even turn his head to look at me. She sounded so put out, it made me laugh. She smiled as well. But years later, I just turned 16, he returned to the village to live. Now he was an official with the Red Army. I was working with my father when he stopped by to pay his respects. But father was called away, and Henry stayed behind. He told me how grown up I had become, but his look was far too bold, and I told him so. She lifted her chin to a determined point. Do you know what he did then? She asked, but didn't wait for an answer. He picked a blossom from a cherry tree and placed it in my hair. She was obviously expecting a big reaction. And? I said. Oh, man Bangle, young men are not supposed to visit a young girl without a parent present. And such vanity, to wear a flower. But she smiled at the memory. I took it from my hair and gave him such a scowl. He walked away then, whistling, but at the gate he looked back and saw that I still held the flower in my hand. Right then, it wasn't hard to see the girl she must have been. She added quietly, we were married the following year, and left the room. As I ate my dessert, I thought about what she'd said. In my mind, I could almost see the village, the straight streets, the trees in blossom, the barn that was part of the house. Later, when I heard her cry out lice, I was surprised that she was having nightmares again, and I knew I'd heard hardly any of her story. I went to her room and held her hand. End of chapter 6.